So welcome everybody. I'm Mandy Haig. I'm the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce Divisional Director, and I'd like to welcome all of you to this morning's second annual general meeting for the Commonwealth Chamber. So it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be doing it virtually, and so let's see how we go, but there will be an element of formalities this morning. Everybody will be on mute for the moment. You'll be able to see us, and we're going to be interacting. If you've got any comments, questions, then please do use the chat box, but the questions should go in the Q&A, and I think Jess has already put that up for you in the chat box to follow at the very end. So we'll get through the formalities, and then it will be over to Joel and Paul. So I shall start with reading the apologies for this morning, and that is Alex de Ruyter, Preet Gill MP and Anita Balla. And with the minutes of the previous AGM that was held last year, those were distributed to all members of the committee, and they were also uploaded to the events page so that all attendees had access to those minutes. I have received some amendments, and the new minutes have been uploaded to the website and redistributed to the committee. So I would like to propose that the President, Mr. Keith Stokes-Smith, agrees that they are a true record of the AGM.
Yes, good morning, Mandy. Yes, I agree that they are a true record of last year's AGM.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder for that, please?
Yep, I'll second that.
Thank you, Paul. And so I would now like to introduce the outgoing President of the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Keith Stokes-Smith, to deliver his President's report.
Thank you, Mandy. Good morning, colleagues and members of the Commonwealth Chamber. This new innovative chamber was born 2.5 years ago at our launch held at Aston University, our main sponsor. Since then, we have grown to over 100 members, having held a large number of events, over and above the substantial number held by the main chamber. These events were intended to advance the knowledge and prospects not only of our members who did not or do not already trade overseas, but also those who in fact are looking for other opportunities to improve their bottom line, generate economies of scale, and diversify risk beyond the home market. I would like to thank Chamber colleagues, GBCC committee members, and all our members for their support of the Chamber during this 2.5 years, and particularly of late, when we have had to deal with many unprecedented challenges, certainly in our lifetime. The Chamber has delivered, and in doing so advanced its ability to deliver even more. I know your incoming President has exceptional ability, is very well respected, and clearly well suited and qualified to take this Chamber forward, and during the run-up to and beyond the 2022 Commonwealth Games. The Games and the Trade and Tourism Expo, which will run alongside them, will give Birmingham and the Midlands a fantastic window of opportunity to promote itself and to promote its ability to successfully trade beyond our shores in many of the emerging markets in the Commonwealth. I have said it many times and will say it again. We need to be out there capturing export opportunities. Our members, businesses need to be assisted to do that. The Commonwealth is a much overlooked group of nations when it comes to trade. Let's do more venturing and prospering. I know this Chamber will go on to achieve significantly more. I wish its President and its new committee well for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks for that excellent report there on the last term that you've held. So I'm now going to go over to the formalities of the makeup of the Executive Committee, and I'm going to start with announcing the election, the committee council members that have actually resigned from the committee at this term. So we have resignations from Claire Brunning, Anita Balla, Alex de Ruyter, Tom Brett Young, and Preet Gill MP. I'd like to thank all of those that have resigned and for their contribution and support of the Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to now advise of those committee members that are re-electing for the committee, and that is Keith Stokes-Smith, Joel Blake, Beverly Lindsay, Mark Smith, Martin Levermore, Deb Leary, Adam Parker, Nasser Awan, Louise Toner, and Rupi Nandra. I would also like to advise that the nominations that were received to join the committee were Diane Vernon, Marisha Stevenson, Tony Lear, Mashuk Ali, Michaela Kendall, and Karen Dorr. Keith, can I ask that you propose the motion to confirm the changes to the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce Committee elected for a term of 2 years, 2020 to 2022?
Thank you, Mandy. Yes, indeed. I'm very pleased to propose this motion.
And will someone please second that for me?
I think that's me. Yes, second.
Thank you. So now we come on to the election of the new president. And as Keith has already advised in the president's report, that he has come to the end of his 2-year term as president. And I really do want to thank you, Keith, for your contribution and your support and absolutely your passion throughout this time served as president. You've been an excellent president for the Commonwealth Chamber. You've worked so hard, tirelessly from its creation and to bring it all the way through to where we are today. And we really do sincerely mean that, Keith. So thank you very much. And of course, you are now going to move on and to the, I'm going to announce the role of the honorary chair for you, Keith, for the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce. I would also now like to welcome the current Vice President, Joel Blake, and announce that he be elected as the new President of the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce to start his 2-year term. I propose the motion to confirm these appointments, and can I please have a seconder for that?
Yeah, happy to second that.
I now confirm that Keith Stokes-Smith takes the position of the Honorary Chair of the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce, and Joel Blake is now the President. Congratulations to you, Joel. On behalf of the committee and the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce members, I'd like to express our support and gratitude on your appointment. I now invite Joel Blake, OBE, to take the digital floor this time and share some insight on what we can expect from your future 2-year term.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Keith, for your mentorship and guidance over the last 2.5 years. You've been amazing, and I really appreciate our conversations and the transparency of all things. Thank you, Paul, and your team for your support and your passion for wanting to move this Commonwealth Chamber forward into a new time. Thank you to the committee members for your peer-to-peer support, your guidance. And thank you to all our members for believing in what we are doing here at the Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce to help you to become the greatest businesses that you can be. It's my honor to both represent and lead the next chapter of our journey together, or what a chapter it's about to be. It's clear that global disruption has affected us all in areas of health, social justice, politics, technology, just to mention a few areas. And it's very clear that we live in a diverse world of the unusual and the uncertain. This is something that I'm used to. You know, born and bred in Birmingham, no silver spoon, didn't go to university. Yet I've been humbled by where life has taken me, and I'm very grateful for those who have supported me in both my business and my personal life in this city. And it's with this passion for inclusion and a desire for purpose that I bring myself into this role. And I genuinely passionate about the fact that an inclusive economy is essential to drive economic growth, both here and abroad. And in our current times, we have to embrace inclusion on a greater scale and a greater level. Inclusion gives us the opportunity for new thinking, for new models of work, stronger partnerships, but with a level of transparency and respect for the diverse value that we all offer each other, both as individuals and as organizations and right across the globe. So for me, this next chapter will be underpinned by two key objectives. One, it is about establishing a truly global, inclusive and interactive member community within the Commonwealth. All of us have been affected by change, but all of us bring something to the table. And I believe it is our responsibility to ensure that our members can work more proactively together and can start to realize their potential together. Second objective is about building a much more innovative level of relationships with all our Commonwealth partners, both here and abroad. Certainly in the region, we've got some fantastic interventions along their way with the Commonwealth Games, HS2, our partners over in Coventry, the City of Culture, but not to mention all the hubs and accelerators, the great work of our universities, the great work in our communities. We have a fantastic opportunity to create new ways of working together in unity. But allow me to be very, very clear. It is time to get back to business. Our members want to trade. Our members want to do business. Organizations abroad want to do business with us. So whilst we have to be aware of the politics, health, social justice, all the other challenges that we're all having to contend with, we have to get back to doing business. And it is my commitment to you all as your president to do the best that I can to ensure that we do the best for our members to do business. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. And I'd now like to invite our CEO of the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce, Paul Faulkner, to take over the proceedings now in a more relaxed setting, as this is now the end of the formalities. So thank you very much, everyone.
Well, thank you, Mandy, for leading us through that. Congratulations, Joel. And just before we dig into that, I also just wanted to thank Keith for all he's done to basically, give birth to the Greater Birmingham Commonwealth Chamber. I think it's fair to say it wouldn't have been possible without Keith's sort of involvement and drive and passion for all things Commonwealth. And we got to know each other prior to the creation of this, and it was very much a joint effort with others as well. And I think you've done a phenomenal job, and I know we're all really, really delighted, Keith, that you're staying involved and we're going to benefit from your contact network, that sort of absolute pure passion and commitment towards just trying to drive more activity and trade between Birmingham businesses and Commonwealth countries. So thank you so much. So I was going to turn to Joel, or Mr. President, as I think I now contractually have to call you, Joel. And we're going to have a little bit of a chat and a natter now. But please, if anyone who's joined have got some questions for Joel, then please pop them in the chat, and I'll aim to bring those in. But I must say, first of all, the medal looks rather smart around your neck, and if you just hold it up there so everyone can see.
There you go.
And there's a couple of other presidents from different chamber divisions on the call, and those medals, they certainly are an important part of all of this. We do it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's a nice part of the whole regalia. But so Joel, I mean, you and I, we've known each other, I think it's about sort of 7-8 years, even going back to when we were both the new kids on the block on the board of Town Hall Symphony Hall. I think we sort of had our induction on the same day, trying to work out what that was all about. But you touched a little bit on your background and sort of being born and sort of bred here in Birmingham. But just give a little outline of sort of your career journey and what you're doing on the day-to-day basis now, just to sort of set the scene.
Absolutely. So my career started working for Connections, for those who remember Connections here in the city. as an employment mentor at the age of 20. So I'd worked in factories previously, walked into a recruitment agency. I said, look, I want to do a lot more. This is who I am. This is what I've got. And they gave me that role in connections. And I was working with young people across the city within training organizations. Over a 4-year period of going and delivering that work, I ended up becoming the lead mentor in the city to support corporates who wanted to support young people into work. So I would train, staff from Cornwall Row and help them to understand the challenges that were happening in our local communities that were restricting our young people to get work. That kind of grew into a recruitment agency, grew into a consultancy, which I've now been running for the past 12 years. But along that journey, it kind of segued into other things. I moved into the area of diversity, and I became the National Diversity Advisor for Golf, which was quite interesting. At the age of 30, advising a whole sport on diversity was a very interesting journey. But it taught me that while there's a perception of how things can be, it's important to get to the root cause. It's important to understand where people are coming from. And then that dialogue gives you all the opportunity to learn. And in doing so, it helped me to then understand the challenges that businesses were facing in trying to use inclusion as a real positive tool. Not the political view on it, which is very, very important, but it's about how do we truly use that as a way of growing. So that moved me into the area of entrepreneurship. So I started a couple of businesses in the tech space, moved into financing. So I set up a financial lending firm. We started funding entrepreneurs right across the UK. And then 3 years ago, I moved into fintech. So outside of my kind of role such as this, I run a fintech startup here in the city to support the wealth and banking sectors. So it's been a real interesting journey for me. It's been one of organic and one of growth, but I think what's remained is the fact that inclusion for me is about making sure we can all grow together. And that's what I've tried to do in all my career to date.
No, I mean, what a sort of a brilliant progression, Joel. And I suppose that eclectic nature prepares you well for this involvement with the chamber. When, I always sort of say to people that the chamber is there for all businesses. As long as the business is legal, then get involved as a member, and we can help and support you. And that's part of the I guess the fun piece is, you're dealing with different businesses, different sectors, but trying to find the common themes and common ways of helping and supporting. I mean, you've touched me. I thought your speech was fantastic, and we must get a copy of that and publish it, because I think that what a great statement of intent and what great energy to sort of kick this off. And there's so much to do, and I think the commitment certainly from myself, and I know the whole sort of chamber team, is not only to support you and what you're doing with the Commonwealth Chamber, but how that feeds into the bigger group, because we are that one big group, and we'll have different logos and different medals, but we've all got the same purpose. I mean, you touched on sort of inclusion and inclusivity, and I mean, obviously the last few months that's really come to the fore, hasn't it? Across the world, and certainly in the UK and in Birmingham in particular. I mean, just give us your sort of sense on what we can all be doing to really try to move that topic, that agenda forward, so we don't get stuck, where it hits the headlines, but then in 2 years or 3 years, there's a terrible incident, and we realise that not enough has changed.
Yeah, I think, Paul, we often, when we approach subjects like inclusion, we automatically think of the politicised view on it. We automatically think of the social view on it. My perspective on inclusion is that it's a given that we should all bring our differences together, and through honest dialogue and honest conversation, but with a commitment to take sustainable action, we could all get through. As someone of colour who's coming into this space, for me, it's not about a racial thing. It's not about a gender thing. It's not about an age thing. It's not about a religious thing. It's about all things, because our world is diverse, and our businesses here in the region are operating in a global world. Your competition is no longer the business in the same streets, in the same area, in the same region. Your competition could be someone who's in the other side of the world, working from a single room with a laptop and a mobile phone, because technology has completely changed the way in which people work. So inclusion for me is an absolute mindset, and it's about helping people to think about, well, what is it that I'm bringing to the table? Where are my gaps? And who do I need to speak to who can help fill that gap? And then what can we then do together? And I think so often we just get blinded by our own conditioning, we get blinded by our own perceptions, and we forget that everyone is different, every organization is different, but if we take the time to understand what that difference is, from a viewpoint of creating positive change, we can all get there.
And you know, that's absolutely the heart of the chamber ethos as well, you know, and James, you touched on it. It's all about doing business and creating opportunities, and that's with whoever and wherever. It's about seeking out those opportunities. And I suppose that is really one of the key drivers behind the foundation of the Commonwealth Chamber, was to try to do more to promote those opportunities in probably in markets which we felt, and I know Keith's been very passionate about this, you know, we're not trading as strongly as we should do because of a lot of conditions, which I guess, you know, go back to the sort of the family of the Commonwealth, as it were. And, you know, it felt like that's a gap which we've got to try to sort of push, because, like you said, you know, competition's all over the world, but so is opportunity, isn't it? And if you look up, lift up your eyes and just look beyond the your sort of immediate geography, you can potentially transform your business and your whole life very, very quickly. I mean, what's your sort of sense on the sort of the opportunities that exist within Commonwealth countries, and how, you know, we can really make the most of those here? But, you know, both in Birmingham, the Chamber's got a fantastic international trade sort of division to provide the support. But do you have a sort of particular personal view or take on that?
Well, I think if we look at the Commonwealth and the opportunity that's there for trade, we've been so focused on Europe that we've not given due support to the Commonwealth in terms of trade. And that's not to say that we should not continue to do business with Europe, even when Brexit takes place. But I think it's about understanding that different emerging markets provide new opportunity, and technology enables us to use resources more efficiently in order to seek out those opportunities. And so, I mean, I was just on a call yesterday with colleagues out in Singapore, and they were talking about the UK in areas such as medtech, edtech, cybersecurity. The fact that digital technology and the UK, it's a combination that they're putting more resource and more investment into. You know, the investment community out there was $9 billion worth of investment that didn't get spent last year alone in that area, and that's just tech. You know, there's many emerging market areas in many countries. We look at the continent of Africa and the diversity that's there. We look at North America, Canada. You know, there's so much opportunity everywhere. But it means that we have to look at our businesses here and think, okay, what have I done really well so far? What value have I created here? What do I need to do to scale up that value? But also, where are the new opportunities, and what do I need to do to take advantage of those opportunities? And that's why, for me, that sense of inclusion, as we go to the Commonwealth and we work with our Commonwealth partners with that mindset, enables us to say, well, you know what, I know I'm good at this, and you can't tell me I'm not. Here's my track record. But at the same time, here is some opportunity that you may not know of, or here's an opportunity where if we can work together, we can do this for each other. It's that sense of family within the Commonwealth that I believe is going to help us to make that connection much more successful.
And that's such a role that we can play, isn't it? I suppose is making businesses here aware of those opportunities, bringing them closer so that it doesn't seem, you know, Singapore can feel like a million miles away, but actually, and certainly, you know, now more than ever, you can jump on a Zoom. I know we've actually been doing that and building links and connections. You can establish relationships, and suddenly those conversations are up and running. So it's kind of making people aware of what's possible, and also helping, you know, sort of a little bit of hand-holding, I guess, for businesses here in Birmingham who
100%, Paul. So to people, I think that's a really important point, because just because there's opportunity doesn't mean that our businesses here have the skills and ability to take advantage of them once they're given them.
Yeah.
So we have to educate, we have to support, we have to build the ecosystem around them. And I think we as the Commonwealth Chamber and the wider chamber are well positioned to do that. We've got the track record, we've got the heritage, we've got the experience, and we've got the resource.
Yeah.
But what we need is organizations who want to take on board the opportunity and also willing to do the work too. Because just because you give them the opportunity doesn't mean that everything that you want is going to happen. In fact, that's the very start of the journey. So we've got the ability to help our members to do so, and also organizations and potential members abroad to do so here. But there's action that needs to be taken on both sides of the fence.
And you know what, that proactivity, that engagement, you know, no one's going to just hand anything to anyone in the world nowadays. You've got to put the effort in. I think that's the role that we can kind of create the conditions, or help to create the conditions. But you know, we need businesses to fully support that, and to engage, and to really drive it themselves, and know that the team here will sort of strain every sinew to help make them be successful in their goals. And I think that's something for everybody who's watching as well and on the call. And no, the fact that you're here at 8:30 in the morning on a Zoom AGM shows that you've got a passion and a commitment. And I suppose, you know, from all of us, you know, please do spread the word. You know, we're here to help and to support, to connect, support and grow. That's our mission. But we need those businesses who who aren't engaging at the moment, to take a look, to start to step forward and understand that you know, with the likes of Joel, Mandy, say the international team here at the Chamber, will help to create opportunities which, you know, now are more important than ever. So that's my little sort of pitch out to everybody there. And you know, you mentioned, Joel, as well, you know, Singapore there, and I know that, you know, the Commonwealth Games is coming. So I'm going to talk about the Commonwealth Games because what a great opportunity for Birmingham, and indeed, you know, the whole region. But you know, there's many things we can talk about with the games. But you know, I know that there's 5 particular countries which are going to be an area of focus for the UK, you know, around the games. You know, Singapore's in there, Malaysia, India, Australia, Canada, and you know, again, this vehicle that we have here provides us with a great way to tap into what's going on in those countries, and to really leverage additional support that will be there from government and from DIT. And I suppose also that's where, you know, the Chamber name and brand is so important, isn't it? Because there's lots of different bodies and groups and names, but you know, Chamber of Commerce is ubiquitous all around the world, isn't it? It's a bit of a calling
Absolutely.
card, and I guess helps to put you on a certain level playing field. When you're speaking with presidents from other chambers across the Commonwealth, they'll immediately have a sense of what you do, which must be an exciting sort of leg up, I guess, when you're dealing with...
I mean, it's, for me, you know, that global perspective has always been a mindset and approach I've taken with all my work today. You know, whilst I love my region, you know, as I say, I'm born and bred here. I've seen all angles and all sides of this city. But at the same time, I've always had that global mindset. And so to be able to share that mindset with other peers and counterparts across the Commonwealth with a sense of togetherness will be amazing. Yes, it will be challenging to really begin to understand all those diverse cultures and really find a way of making sure we can be much more connected together. But I'm an entrepreneur, and for me, that's what it's about. The bigger the challenge, you know, the greater reward for all of us. So for me, I'm facing that challenge with a sense of excitement, but also a sense of practicality and a sense of realism that, you know, it's not going to be easy. We all have to be resilient through this change. We all have to be willing to flex and adapt and blend accordingly. But as long as we've got a very clear purpose of why we're doing that, then all these obstacles are just stepping stones. There's no such thing as failure. It's all about learning, but we have to learn quickly. We have to move fast, and we have to make sure our businesses get access to those opportunities in the most effective way that we can. And that's what I...
That energy's intoxicating, really exciting. It's really motivating as well, Joe. I'd sort of say that myself, and I know the team here, and I hope those who are tuned in and are listening sort of feel that as well, because we're going to do some pretty special things with this chamber in the next sort of coming years, and certainly with the activity that's going on. Now, we touched on the games, and I know that that we've got a lot of support from the organising group around the games. I know I think David Grady, who's the CFO, is on the joined us today, and David's been a brilliant supporter of the Commonwealth Chamber of a number of different activities. But I mean, what's the games mean to you, and the fact that we've managed to secure it here in Birmingham? What's your sort of overall view on it, and what it can do for the city and region?
I think the games, certainly in my lifetime, the games is something that is going to be so impactful for us. You know, the 11, 12 days of the games are going to be something that, you know, the whole world is going to be on our city and everything that we have to offer. And that connection between us and our Commonwealth partners through the games will show that business is important, but so's sports, so's community, so's all the things that business can have an impact on. But I'm also very aware and very adamant that it's not just about the games for the period that it's here. We have to do a lot of work together, leading up to the games, during the games, and post the games. You know, the legacy of the games is one that we have to manage and own as a region. You know, the impacts and the aftermath of the games is going to leave such a positive ripple. But if we don't have the ecosystem connected, if we don't have the support in place to drive forward that legacy that the games will leave, then we've missed the opportunity. And as a city and as a region that operates on a global level, the game certainly gives us the ability to leverage the opportunity that it does provide. But at the same time, we've got to be better connected from now. The world of business has to be connected to the games and beyond from now. And again, as a Commonwealth Chamber, we are much better placed to be able to get in those conversations, create those type of opportunities, and make sure that we've got a really strong foundation for that legacy for all our communities. And that's really, really important. You know, the diversity is embedded here, and so does our foundation for the future need to be embedded in that too. That
connectivity between the games as an event and a big complex multi-sport event which will happen, and there's so much planning and organising which goes into it, but making sure it's connected to the communities, business community, civic community, just everybody here is crucial. I know we've spoken about this, haven't we, Joe? I know that's the commitment of the Commonwealth Chamber, of the Chamber Group as a whole, that we'll be great partners for the games. We'll be easy partners to work with, because we're from here and of here, and we're not going away. The Chamber's been around, well, the Commonwealth Chamber's only been around for 2.5 years. The Greater Birmingham Chamber's been around for 207 years, and it's that sense of partnership, isn't it? And I know David knows this, and Ian and John Crabtree as well, that it's that open offer to work with us, to leverage the passion, the commitment, the knowledge that we've got here, and collectively will absolutely knock it out of the park, as they say.
Just on that, Paul, sorry to cut you again, but just on that, we've already started the work, and that's the one thing I would say to everyone who's on this call today. This has already started. We need to do more. We've got the ICLP program, of which the Commonwealth Chamber is a key partner in that, the LEPs, the universities, local community groups. So that's already beginning to happen in terms of this sense of connectivity to drive things through. There's already been a number of talks and webinars and meetings around what can be done. So we're not starting from a blank sheet of paper, but in order to drive it through, we all have to do that together, and it does start now, during and post the games.
Now, we've got a couple of questions coming from the audience. There's some great comments as well, and thank you to everyone who's been posting. I know Eileen Schofields put a great comment on there, and about it's going to be an exciting time for the Chamber, and just again picking up on what you said around inclusion being about a mindset and also education. So Eileen, Vice President of our Transatlantic Chamber, so again loads of synergies there, but thanks for the support from Eileen, and Deb Leary, our Vice President, picking up on the fact there's no such thing as failure. Things don't go wrong, they just go different. Well said. And David, who is on, I mentioned David Grady from the Commonwealth Games, saying how the games should be a catalyst for much wider benefits, and together we're going to make sure that they are. I'm going to come on to a couple of questions that people have posed, but also you mentioned the the ICLP there. Just expand on that, Joel, just for a few moments. Just explain to everyone who's listening what that is and how that's been going, and the role that the Commonwealth Chamber, I know Mandy, but also Jamila Davis has played such a key role in that here, is all about, really, how that's helping businesses.
Yeah, and absolutely, and thank you especially to Jamila and the team for all your support with that, because the ICLP came about because there was a need to ensure that our diverse communities are connected to mainstream business support in the region. So a model was created around that in terms of a 6-month modular program made up of a number of different partners coming together in the region to provide expertise to those businesses. That model was presented to the local LEP, and at the time I was also working there, leading some of the work on growing businesses and access to finance. So in presenting that model to the LEP, they saw, the absolute passion that we had for that model, and funded the delivery of that pilot for this first year so far. And so, I'd like to say thank you to the LEP as well for their commitment from their perspective to doing so. And in doing so, we've created a cross-sector partnership with, obviously, the Commonwealth Chamber, the LEP, CREM at Aston University, the Legacy Centre over at Aston, and also now beginning to bring on a number of other partners. So HS2 have just joined as a partner, and a couple others in the pipeline that we can't mention just yet until things are signed. But what it's created is a real opportunity for our businesses in the region to build their capacity and capability to grow, and to grow through procurement opportunities that are available through things like the games, where they are relevant in terms of having the size and having the ability to deliver, but also enabling them to access the supply chain of the games as well. So that it doesn't matter if you're a small business, you can still be a part. But at the same time, looking at the global opportunities through the Commonwealth and how they can start to prepare themselves and be connected to some of those bilateral trade opportunities. So as a program, it's groundbreaking. It's never been done in this way with the level of partnerships that we have in the region, and we're only just starting. So it's an action that's been shown that can breed results. We've already had some of the businesses been featured in the media, Midlands Today. A lot of great things are happening just from one simple idea. So yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a great demonstration, I suppose, of what we can do and want to do. It's not just talk here. We're about doing, aren't we? And seeing real results. And we'll be back on this in 2 years and looking back, and we want to have actually really moved the meter in lots of different ways. And the ICLP, I think, is a great example of what we've been talking about in action. Got a question from Lloyd Broad from Birmingham City Council. So you mentioned innovative engagement with the Commonwealth, and Lloyd makes the point this is essential in the current climate. Do you have any sort of initial thoughts where you can expand on that innovative engagement and ideas?
I think it'd be wrong for me to say, right, we've got to do X, Y, and Z. I think we need to kind of first make a first look at over certainly the next 60 to 90 days on where we are and what the foundations need to be. But if I do fast forward a little bit, it's certainly been make sure that we are connecting our communities even more to those opportunities in the games. It's making sure that services like the councils, LEPs, chambers, the hubs and accelerators are all connected in the way that they're working and bringing a level of value to the games, so that we all are adding value to what the legacy will be. Certainly in terms of dialogue, roundtables, conversations, we really need to be better connected in those particular ways. But for me, there are areas around access to finance, access to better leadership and management capability, access to talent, access to innovation, some of the drivers and levers that can scale growth for our businesses. And so any innovative engagement has to be focused on scaling growth. It has to be focused on business growth, and it has to be focused on long-term sustainable growth. We're not talking about flash in the pans here. Our businesses don't just want to get a great contract and then in 6 months they're having to find another one. We need to be able to prepare them and give them the ability to grow for the long term. Yeah. And that will be a phased and tiered and a growth model in itself. But innovative engagement has to be about sustainable growth as a long-term objective.
Yeah, and never more important than now, isn't it? And as we come through the pandemic, and we will. It's making sure we've got the right mindset as well, and focus on growth, sustainable growth. And again, that's one of the core sort of mantras of the chamber in promoting growth. We've got another question from Mohammed Arif on the chat. It just says he's based in Cairo in Egypt, works in international trade, and how he can help. So Mohammed, I would definitely say we'll have your contact details, and we'll follow up on the back of this, because while Egypt isn't in the Commonwealth at present, the chamber's all about building connections and finding ways of working together. And so we will follow up and establish a link there, and let's see what we can potentially do together. There's certainly so many opportunities here in Birmingham that we should have a conversation. I'm just trying to see if there's another question, I think from Diane, yes, who agrees with me that your energy is infectious, Joel, and certainly at this time in the morning. What have you got in that cup? Is that just coffee or tea?
Water.
And Diane's just saying, what support would you like from the board to enhance the prospects for young people across the region?
Look, my heart will always be in this region, and certainly in our young people. My career started working with what some would deem as so-called hard to reach, which I don't believe. I do not believe in that phrase whatsoever. But and I think for the committee members who are coming on board, we've got another level of energy with their skills and their experience and their expertise. So certainly I know Diane Vernon, with her expertise around employability and skills, will be a great asset to us here within the Commonwealth. But I think all our Commonwealth members and committee members certainly have an affinity with our youth. And I think what we have to do with our young people is enable them to see themselves as the next generation of leaders. And whilst we can't and we shouldn't restrict their enthusiasm and restrict their drive and restrict their sense of innovation and entrepreneurship, we have to also give them a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of guidance and a little bit of nurturing about how they could harness those things and direct them in the right way. Because young people don't know what they don't know, but at the same time, they could also teach us a lot as well. I kind of a young 19-year-old, and every day with our conversations, I'm like, what? But it's fascinating because, our young people, we have to give them a lot more credit than we do. Sometimes just because they're young, they don't know anything, and you'd be surprised just how much they do know. Yeah. And so by working together, again, in that state of inclusion with our young people, we can help them to achieve their ambitions, but also enable them to be the leaders that help us all when we get older, and they get to an age, let's not forget that. We've got to need
one certainty, isn't it? For sure. That's happening to all of us. And I mean, I know that's another way that I think that the broader chamber group aims to provide those links and connections through Future Faces, which is really sort of flourishing right now, and there's loads of crossovers. But the other thing I'd add as well, Dan, I think from all of the sort of the board is just engagement, and it's engagement from yourself. Come up with the ideas, participate, get involved. The more you get involved, that's how chambers flourish and thrive and really achieve great things, because it's that multiplier effect that when we really galvanize, we can cover so much more ground and do it together. And I know that's the commitment from myself and the core chamber team, as it was, just to sort of help facilitate that. And it's then reaching others who aren't involved and engaged at the moment, and sort of bringing them in within the group, and that sense that collectively we can achieve so much more. Mark Smith from Aston University's put a couple of really nice comments in the chat as well, and just sort of saying, that the pandemic recovery is going to be pan-global, and I really must thank Mark and Aston University as well for their support of the Commonwealth Chamber. They're our patrons of this division, and their support, from the get-go has been invaluable in helping to get this off the ground. And so thank you, Mark, and all of your team. And another nice note as well from Ian Harrison from DIT, who is our sort of real point of contact here in the Midlands with DIT. Just congratulating you on your appointment. Looking forward to working with the Commonwealth Chamber and helping to push that international growth agenda. And one other question which is coming from Gerard Davis here, which is a good one, is how do you see the role of green growth in your vision, Joel? Which I know it's a big topic, but maybe just a couple of thoughts on green growth, and that may be something that we can pick up offline, or certainly in another event in future.
Yeah, it's definitely a subject that warrants its own focus for sure, and you know, I think it's something we should look at more. I think my general view on green growth is that you know, clean tech, green tech, all these different opportunities that we have to live a little bit more cleaner, healthier, more sustainably is really important for all of us. You know, if we talk about climate change and the challenges there, you know, it's going to be really important to make sure that we are putting that at the forefront, particularly around UN sustainable goals as well, and linking into some of those agendas. You know, it's great that within the committee we're bringing on Michaela, who's got direct experience in that area. So again, we can take that experience from within and start to look at how we can then help our members and our partners and the wider Commonwealth community on that agenda. But it goes back to that conversation around having those honest dialogues, and where we need to do more, we can do more. And where we see the gaps, we can bring in our value. But I think green growth is absolutely essential, particularly if you look at our region now and what's happening in the transport. You know, we've got cycle lanes and scooters and clean air. You know, there's a lot of things happening. So we have to make sure that we take that on board, but we have to do that in a much more sustainable way. We have to take that on board with a sense of planning and execution.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joel. And I've heard another nice comment from Amber Kibbe from St John's Ambulance, just sort of saying, legacy and youth opportunities key for St John's Ambulance, and yeah, just recognising that sense of shared ethos and values, and that's very much what we're aiming to do. It's about positive development and growth and sort of strides forward. So I'm mindful of the time, and Joel, I think, you know, you've been what a great presidential debut there. Thank you. But final question from me. So we've you know, president of the Commonwealth Chamber, and in under 2 years, the Commonwealth Games will be taking place here in our city. Any particular event, you know, if you could, you know, secure a ticket to one event to watch, if you got one thing that you'd like to be there in the stands, hopefully, sort of tuning in for live. You know, it's going to sound
really like a cop-out, but I want to see all of them. and genuinely, because, you know, the diversity of sport in itself is just great. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, it's just going to be good just to make sure that we're all engaged in that. And so, yeah, there isn't one sport at all, if I'll be honest. I want to just make sure that, you know, I can get as much tickets as I can to as many as I can. And just
David, I hope you're listening there. Joel loves all his children and he wants to get everything. So anyway, we'll, it's a very diplomatic answer, very, very good. Well, I say, I'm going to draw proceedings to a close. You know, thank you to everybody who's tuned in bright and early on a Thursday morning, a sunny September morning. Thank you for your support and engagement, for all of the comments that that you put in the chat, and you know, please do help us spread the message. Please do, you know, talk about, you know, this today. Talk about the Commonwealth Chamber. Encourage people who aren't involved or don't know about it at the moment. Direct them to us. We're easy to sort of find on social media, or go on our website, or you know, get hold of our contact details. Please do ask them to speak to us, because we want, you know, to keep developing and growing, getting more people engaged that we can help support and really add value to, and, you know, say, you know, we'll grow together, and that's how we can really, really make a positive difference. Thank you, Mandy, and the team for all of the day-to-day work that you do. Thank you, Keith, for your inaugural term. You'll always be the first, and thanks for staying involved. Thank you to everyone who stepped up to the exec committee as well. And Joel, you know, that was really, really inspiring. It is infectious, and I think that, you know, our mutual commitment is that we will make this happen. This isn't just words. It's not just talk. No, we've got a great vehicle and opportunity here to do some brilliant things, and certainly with the games coming, that spotlight on Birmingham and the Commonwealth has never been greater. So, you know, all of us involved with the Commonwealth Chamber really have a duty, don't we, to make sure that we are making a difference and leaving our mark. And I think, you know, with you at the helm, Joel, and leading, then it's going to be some exciting times ahead. So, well, what a great way to start a Thursday. Let's go out and just absolutely have an awesome day now. And thank you all once again. And finally, just congratulations, Joel.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.